Boom. We are live, sir.
We got guitars in hand and ready to go.
We are ready to go. Happy Friday, everyone. I know I typically do my Tuesday streams, but Amy and I went and took a couple nights away, and I've been planning this with Jake for a long time. And dude, this has been a long time coming. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. Thank you so much for joining me, brother.
Man, anytime. I'm in good company, man. You know what you're talking about. I'm on your block. This is
Dude,
what we're here for.
I love it. So I asked you, like I asked all my guests, to send me some tracks that we can talk about. And you sent me this incredibly long and incredibly diverse playlist. So I don't know where you want to start with it, but before we dive into that, do you mind sharing any updates on your end about what you see coming down the pipe in the horizon as far as gigging and anything else?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right now our managers are busy just turning over haystacks and looking for diamonds in the rough, and
Yeah,
it's all about promoters willing to take risks now too. So it's like there's all these bands that are siphoning down the pipeline, and only so many people are willing to take risks. So it's kind of like slowly but steady. So it's like
yeah,
we're getting a lot of dates slowly penciled in, but the idea is when all the logistics happen, that's when it's penned in.
yeah,
So we have all these pending dates that are on the horizon, you
yeah.
know, and obviously we got things booked in Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta. I'm going to Florida next week to play festivals. So who would have thought, wow, I'm actually playing a festival next week in Florida, you know.
What festival is that?
It's basically like at Bear Creek camping grounds down
Okay.
in Florida, like in Live Oak, Florida. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like where Swanee and almost like the Peach Fest, where the Allman Brothers would hold uh, uh, their sort of thing. It's on those particular grounds. So it's just like a bunch of random bands for a 3 night stand.
Yeah.
Like Goose and us and a few others, and it's looking promising. And everyone has their stationary pods and trying to do a festival in sort of a responsible atmosphere given the conditions. But it's all about trying to pull these things off, considering the just all the things that could go wrong. But trying to like make sure everything goes right so we can do it again. You know.
Yeah, and you're right about the risks too, because you have to book everything and you got to pull all the money out and et cetera, and then it could just like implode tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. And then think of just the risk of everyone going to the airport and traveling and
Yeah.
doing their gig and then coming back home. And then like, okay, is everyone cool now? Say a week after you do the gig. So there becomes like a heightened awareness to like just pulling off a single show away
Yeah.
from your hometown. So it like throws a whole new perspective on the objective of like playing a live show. It's like wow now. It's a wow factor.
I know. I'm ready. You mentioned Goose. Goose is coming to my area in Frederick, Maryland, in about 4 weeks, doing like the drive-in thing, and I'm definitely going to try to go to that. I'm ready, man. We're all ready. We're ready.
Yeah, it's like well, once we get the clear, it's going to be like the Roaring Twenties again. I constantly hearing that saying, oh, like man, it's going to be like post World War I Roaring Twenties
Yeah.
before the Depression hits in the
Yeah.
30s, something. I'm like I could kind of see that, you know.
No, it's going to be an explosion. Here where I am in Baltimore, there's a couple clubs that have started to reopen, and of course you have to sit at the table. There's no bar seats.
Right.
You can't get up and dance or anything like that. But everything they've booked is sold out immediately.
Yeah, yeah. The hunger for just getting outside of your four walls. It's like I've got a beautiful studio here. I make music here all the time, but
Yeah,
that's not my gypsy role. Like it's like I've been in a touring band for 20 some years,
yeah,
and our bread and butter is that gypsy role,
mm-hmm,
and then it kind of like stopped dead in its tracks. And I think that a lot of artists and musicians feel that same way, that do their thing in the live realm, and it's not
yeah,
about selling records anymore like it
yeah.
was in the 70s. It's like real bands make their bread and butter live.
And I've been thinking a lot about this. I feel like that is going to be a silver lining to all of this because we're going to be forced to get back to the roots of why we do what we do, whether we're on stage or whether we're in the crowd. And because we just love it and
Yeah,
feeling it with other people and playing and not just all the other stuff, right? Like in the room, in the air, with the people, playing music. I feel like
yeah.
it's gonna come back with a vengeance. And
And you know, even my grandfather would say during the war times, the people that actually could put food on the table were musicians a lot of times because everyone was so starved to get away from the dealings of war and like people are overseas and this and that or whatever it's say in those times, and almost like the pandemic is like going through some sort of trauma like that, and
yeah,
it's like you look for art as like sort of an escape outside of that sort of reality, in a weird way.
I never thought of it that way, but I totally believe it.
Mm.
Well, anyway, so yeah, when we're all ready. So where do you want to start, man? Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is that music on the wall behind you?
Oh, that's this is cool. Great history lesson. So it's a perfect mint copy of what it's basically it says copyright 1905. So it's an actual super thick like paperboard almost, right?
Uh huh.
And it's slightly yellowed just from the age, but basically they would have this in a rural school like on in the middle of nowhere cornfield, and this would be on the wall, and the teacher would be like asters and genitin and goldenrod bright comes in September to gladden our sight. And that would be like what they would put up behind the chalkboard, and it would be like after the Pledge of Allegiance, they would all sing that together in the classroom.
Really?
Yeah, so it's an original old just phrase that the whole classroom would sing together before they would go into mathematics or something, right?
That is very, very cool.
Pretty cool. I
All
mean,
right.
this whole studio is filled with it's like a tattoo parlor.
Do
It's
you
like,
want to? Can you spin your thing and give people a
yeah,
little tour
yeah.
real quick?
You know what I'll do? I'll do like a quick walkthrough.
I'll t- yeah.
So basically, here's like the wall of shame,
I love this.
and it's like basically like history of music. Like, look, you see my old country band photos.
Oh my god.
Look at us. That's
Oh my
that's
god.
Avalanche and County Line. That was when I used to like play all the honky tonks back in the day. There's my other band, Alibaba's Tahini, Crojo, Khalil, photo shoot, whatever, randomness. So I mean, it's like a tattoo parlor.
I,
So
I love it.
here's like say my basses, a Lakeland and an old vintage Rick, flat wound strings only, right?
Yep, dude. It's got to sound
And
like a
then
bass.
so here's an old vintage Premier kit from like
Yes.
it's pretty much like what Keith Moon would play, right? So it's the old resonators from like the mid '60s, and I inherited these from a drummer locally who passed away, Bruce Carr, and he
Okay.
was a legend around here. And these are like the real deal, 2-ply, 3-ply, amazing old resonators. So I'm a huge drum freak.
Yeah, I know
Back
that, and I love that about you.
back here we have like a 1908 upright grand. So this is like original ivory keys. So it's
Dude,
a
this is
two-step
amazing.
process on. So it's basically a grand piano upright. So super cool.
That is.
Got the boom boxes and the Aerosmith rocks on reel to reel,
Oh my god.
right? Wait, we got the first Gibson amp. So right there's like
Wait, that.
what
What do
BB
you
King
mean?
would play through. Basically, that's the original 52, I believe.
Wow.
So see the slide. See this Gibson. This is an original 1953 pedal slide before they even were starting to make like say electric guitars in mass production.
Yeah.
So that pickup in there is like one of the first pickups ever made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, right there. So original cream color too. And this sounds like a woman. You play this thing, it sounds like a woman. It's crazy.
Dude. Oh man, this is
All right, so
amazing.
we'll run into here. So here's like the guitar wall. I got 7 string. Um, we've got an all-American 12 string, like Gibson replica, but it's a 12 string.
Yeah.
American flag 12 string. There's an old early 80s G&L. There's the Zappa edition SG.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Christmas lights to boot.
Yes. There's a Becker custom. There's a Gibson. There's only one or two of these. This is a Gibson prototype. And they got sued by Fender because of the design. And I ended up, and it's like a one-piece body. It's literally a one-piece guitar. Crazy, right?
Wow.
Okay, here's the vinyl collection for the studio, right?
I love it.
And here's the secret to the sauce. You can have a huge sound system for your records, but you have to put it on bricks. So this is like on concrete. So the idea is we got the subwoofer right next to the actual needle.
Oh,
See what I'm talking?
yeah.
And I can get like 125 decibels in this mug,
Dude, you just crank
right?
in there.
Yeah, so think about how that's coupling out all the vibrations to that needle, right? Ridiculous.
Dude, I'm getting it. You're blocking the microphone with your hand.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So the control room, I got like an old Neve type. It's like basically an AMEC Tech, but it's styled after like a Neve console. This was in the Georgia Theater. So the Georgia Theater, this is the original console that was in the Georgia Theater for 20 some years, and it burnt down, and they salvaged this desk. So REM and Widespread Panic and all the badass bands back in the day actually played their shows through this desk.
Oh my God.
Right. So we hit drums to tape, eight channels of Tascam, and then HD, right? And I got my outboard pre's and whatnot, but the monitoring situation's ridiculous. Okay, we got 415s for like the big dogs, and then you got these little ones just to make sure you sound okay. But you really want to tear the paint off the walls. You go with those, and then like say the mastering section, and then we spit everything down to 2-inch or 2-track tape. So we're like utilizing both digital analog and digital worlds to achieve kind of like that certain sound you can't get just in Pro Tools, right?
Man, dude, thanks for doing that. That place is incredible. How long have you been in your studio and been putting all this together?
Yeah, so here basically I moved out here. This is on my parents' property. So this used to be a horse stable, right? So in 1989, we turned this into we poured concrete and we leveled out the walls, and we made the walls like this thick.
Yeah.
So I could whack a snare drum at 3 a.m. and no one's gonna hear it. Okay. So I moved out here when I was 14.
Yeah.
So this is where I developed everything, all my technique, and like basically grew up and learned everything about life musically and elsewhere, all kind of in this room. So this is like a very dear place.
That is so cool. So do your parents still live on the farm?
Yeah, they're still out here. We're on a dead end road in rural Michigan, like on the edge of 3 counties. So it's like we're kind of like, it's really quiet when you go outside. It's like you don't hear traffic.
Yeah.
You hear birds and the wind, And this is where I grew up for, since I was 5 years old. This has like been the place. So there's like that innate sense of like I'm supposed to be here, So
man,
it's a special place,
I couldn't agree more. I just leased a barn, and I'm in the process of putting heat and everything in it.
Yeah.
And it's like 1 mile from where I grew up. It's literally on the same road.
Cool.
And so after all my excursions in life and living in California and South Carolina and Florida, I've managed to find my way back kind of to where I started. And my kids are actually going to the same school that my grandmother, their great grandmother, went to. and
Whoa.
and I'm leasing this barn like literally on this farm that I used to walk through, and I feel exactly what you're feeling. Like I don't have it figured out yet because this is a
Right.
really
There's like a almost like elements and properties and like
yeah,
things that are like quantum physics
yeah,
based that are reasons of you being, say, drawn towards a place for, like, say, inspiration. And there's nothing more entertaining to an artist than reliving childhood sort of sensory things. So it's like that's why I'm still here. It's like, man, I think I lost my virginity here and got drunk here first, and like
yeah, yeah,
did like everything here
yeah,
first. It was
yeah,
like one of those things.
yeah.
You know?
Blasting Van Halen. Like
Oh man,
to the woods. Yeah,
getting off school and accidentally taking a little whatever and turning
yeah.
off the lights and hearing Ozzy's no more tears, and like going, oh my God,
Yes,
happening here.
yes,
You know, this was
man.
that room. So instead of like moving on with life, I never escaped, say, that algorithm of my childhood. So I used this as like a kickstart for the feeling of being a child. And what a better way to do that when you're ready to, say, be an artist, if you're kind
Yeah,
of always in a childlike mental state when it's time to do art, you know.
totally.
So
To,
it all makes
to,
sense, I guess. I'm like weeding through that like I don't want to be an adult anymore, you know.
No, no, but I totally get that, and having a place to go that is special to you like that, and that when you go to that place, you go back to that person and those feelings that made you do this with your life in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
And like when you said like you feel the wind blow through the field the same way that you have for 40 years or whatever, that
Yeah,
shit is real, man.
I can
you
almost
know
see like the geography change over time. Like, wow, that hill was a little larger last,
the
like, say, 20
trees are
years
fucking
ago.
huge now.
Trees, yeah.
Yeah.
So almost like I'm out here making art over the last, say, 30 some years, and
Yeah.
I'm also watching this trees grow, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing, like, say, my world literally change over decades,
Yeah.
and that I'm still involved in the same art realm. So it's kind of cool to flex through having children and being single and being like crazy and being sane
Yeah.
all through like life, and then you kind of use one like, say, this is your workplace.
Yeah. No, it's true. You're seeing the fruits of your labor. You're watering the seeds like in the same place, and you're watching it grow, and it and you keep being drawn back to that. It's so
Yeah.
easy for us all to think that something always has to change. I got to move here. I got to do this. I got to do whatever. But
Yeah,
but
like for instance, like um like this is all I had when I was first starting here, and what I
yeah,
would try to do is do like Sergeant Pepper, and like my own Sergeant Pepper, like how many times could I bounce the tape before you can't hear the drums anymore?
yeah,
Cut kind of like Jeff Lynne Electric Light Orchestra experiments on this machine, and that just slowly enveloped into like making it more serious here in the same room. So
yeah.
it's almost like just an algorithm. It just went through its algorithms to where it kind of is now, you know.
Well, man, I tell you what, you've definitely put me in a great mind space today. I love talking to you about this. So let's do this real quick because we have almost 1,000 people watching. I just want to
Awesome.
say, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Mods, I see you out there. I see a lot of familiar faces or names and a lot of new ones. So welcome if this is your first time. Again, we have Jake Cinninger here from Humphreys McGee. And Jake, I don't know if you can see it on your side. If you see any comments in particular or any questions or anything that you want to respond to, feel free to jump in. Guys, if you have
Yeah.
anything in particular you'd like to hear us talk about, I'm going to keep an eye on the side. And yeah, Fantasy, thank you so much. He's dropping a lot of stuff. And remember, the link to Humphreys and Jake stuff is in the description too. So make sure you give them
Awesome.
a sub. So Jake, let's talk about this playlist that you sent. And I don't know where you want to start, but as you know, I ask all my guests to bring something to share, and I just want to show everybody this. This is what he sends me. He sends me. He sends me.
It's called Whoa. It's called Whoa.
Yeah, he sends me a playlist called Whoa with literally 125 125 videos. So where do you want to start, man? What do you want to share first and why?
Yeah, I mean, like one thing I'm really, because I guess we spend so much time trying to become so proficient on our instrument.
Yeah.
And that we lose track on like the real special qualities of art, which are the things that fall short of art sometimes, right? So like I really like finding that human nature psychology of just like the natural artistic soul running rampant, even if you don't have any talent. So I love finding those fringes of things that are just god awful, and I get so much inspiration off of it just because it's like so inherently like driving a car with blindfold on, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like we would totally not do this as like an art. Like I would totally not be caught dead doing something like that. But like I learn about the edges of like say the possibilities.
Yeah.
And I feel like that stuff's more heavier of an art piece than some of the most beautiful music ever written. So I'm like looking at the total yin and the yang of the art realm here, kind of with a list like this. There's beautiful, amazing performances, and then there's things that are totally on the edge of like the worst quality and the worst thing in the world. So I'm always looking for things that are anti-art.
Yeah.
That almost by default, you know, it's like, and then it turns into some of the most amazing art just by that fact of it not being supposed to be funny or art. I mean, this is like a whole book in itself, just like taking that ideology. So you could, you know, a few of these are like worst videos ever or worst music ever, or I like feeling the fringes or finding the fringes, you know.
I mean, I see so many that I want to. This David Allen Coe interview. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean that's like hardcore, right? Or like say that's the Soft Parade performance.
That one,
and it's long, just amazing.
That one is exceptional.
Just like where was the Doors about to go before Morrison passed? It was like you could really see the future happening right there. You know.
Let's
cut out by watching.
Let's play a minute of this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge Doors fan. I used to be able to recite like all the things that Jim would say like in between songs where he would just like preach at the crowd.
You're all a bunch of fools, stuff.
Oh my god. But what was the one? Oh my god. It's gonna kill me. I'm gonna remember in a minute though. Let's play this for a second here. I haven't heard this in a while.
It's shot really well. It sounds good, and there's like a spooky, like air to the performance.
Yeah.
Like especially there's something like really like unsettling about this whole performance.
You give me sanctuary. I must find a place to hide, a place for me to hide.
Dude, look at him.
Your eyes closed. I don't think he's acting.
Can you find me some asylum? I can't make it anymore. The man is at the door.
Look at Robbie.
Dude.
Discus chocolate candy. Champion sax and a girl.
You know what's great about this? like there's no overdubbing. This is like them on a soundstage actually playing. There's no faking anything. It's great. You know?
Dude, yeah, that I haven't. It's been a long time since I listened to the Texas radio and the big beat. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Where
Totally.
where he comes out and it's like quiet, and he's got like children. The river contains specimens. You know.
Totally. And for our little teenage minds, it was just like such heavy poetry that you could create like images with, you know? And it was,
Oh,
and it was an auditory thing. It wasn't something that we picked up and read like Bukowski or something. It was like an audio message. So it was easier for us to turn it into something picturesque, you know?
oh my God, yeah. I have
Oh,
to do
gotta
this
hear
right
it,
now.
for sure.
I have to do this right now.
A little nostalgia's sake, you know?
Dude, these some of these lines, man. Yeah, we're gonna do this right now. But I gotta go to the second part. That's you playing it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not doing.
It was close to stone.
Where is it?
Those unseated will await the next.
Yeah, this part.
Goes in for the headbutt.
The movie will begin in 5 moments, the mindless voice announced. All those unseated will await the next show. As we seated and were darkened, the voice continued. The program for this evening is not new. You have seen this entertainment through and through. You've seen your birth, your life and death. You might recall all of the rest. Did you have a good world when you died?
It's biblical for
Enough to
hippies,
base a
man.
movie on?
Dude, that's not the one I'm thinking of, but yeah, when he used to just preach, is it this one? God, Jake, you got to bear with me. I got to find this now.
There's a great story about this performance.
I tell you this.
Mick Jagger was sitting on Pamela Morrison's lap during
Okay.
this in the front row, and that's why Jim was acting so sheepish during that particular performance. So think about that. That was always a kind of an interesting factoid. I'm like all about the Encyclopedia Britannica of weird factoids.
Oh, dude, I love it.
Like, why is he so sheepish at this performance?
Anyway, I gotta hold on. This.
The voices of singing women call us on the
Oh
phone
yeah, this
shore.
is it.
Yeah.
And they're saying,
Forget the night.
Live with us in
Force of Azure.
Meager food for souls.
This is like
to die.
Sun Ra
Dude,
for like pop culture, you know.
dude, meager food for souls forgotten.
Oof.
Dude,
It's good.
dude.
For us guitar players, we need to like look at a lyric like that and like how would you play a line like that? So I try to like turn like a poetic line that would be cool. Like how would you phrase that in music? Meager words. So it's the way like Frank Zappa would take a line like Susie cream cheese, something that you ate, like Susie cream cheese, something that you ate. So he would train his band to learn things through text rather than say notation.
Yeah.
Right? So he would say a paragraph like, if you've never seen it before, you might never seen it again. Like right? And then like now since if you can't read music, he'll associate it with a paragraph, a phrase that's words, and then we're gonna fill in the notes afterwards. So think of that teaching process. You know, it's kind of like this. The way we would use like that phrase is inspiration, you know?
You know, and I think about that a lot. Actually, I think about the the rhythm of famous speeches and public speaking in general, and
Yeah.
the breaths that people take, and the punctuation, which could only be have the same impact like if you hear it, and it's different than if you write
Yeah.
it, and how different people
I
would
think
punctuate it.
because it's a lot about the timing at which the impact drops verbally, because it's not musical, right?
Yeah,
It's more of a speech pattern.
yeah,
That's like the difference of going like, why would you do this? Like it like drips more than going da 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 da. It's
yeah,
da 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 da.
yeah,
Right? So it's got like a drip to the swagger of speech in a way, you know. I always
yeah.
think about that. Consonants and vowels as speech, and then play what you're talking. Like, so it's like tripleated energy with dotted 16th energy, almost, right? It's kind of
Yes.
like that, you know?
Yes, I think about that all the time when I'm soloing. It's like one of the mantras that like I remind myself after been playing a long time. Where I mean, you know this, you find yourself in the moment and immediately have this moment of clarity where you're like, you're doing too much, you know,
Yeah.
and like you're you know, and but it takes years of experience to get to that point, and
Yeah.
I always tell myself mentally, like on stage, like you'll see me do it, I'll take my hands literally off the instrument and like breathe for a
Yeah.
second,
Like,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and then when I come back in, I try to think, you know, where where would I come in? You know, at when would I come in, and how would I come in, and not like
Totally.
what am I going to play, and
Big
just
time.
try to start over from scratch. And I do that mid solo sometimes if I find myself in that moment, and I'm just like,
It's like a
okay, no,
big
no,
breath, like taking
yeah,
like a horn player always has to breathe. Guitar players never think about breathing. You know, it's
exactly,
kind of one of those things. And who wants to phrase more like horn players, guitar players?
yeah, everyone,
It's like an automatic thing. So breath, 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 breath. So it'd be like the comma that say a guy would put in notation, and horn players always put commas in their notation for breaths. So think about kind of like putting a comma in your phrases, like if you would have to breathe as a horn player. So I'll tell my students to actually like imagine being a horn player and breathing in after your phrases like you had to. Okay, like. Right? So it's like even though I'm kind of complex, I'm putting enough space in between the madness, kind of with the breaths, you know.
that that is for everybody watching. That is a tremendous takeaway, a huge thing to try to be cognizant of. Yeah, the commas in the notation. I never even thought of that. That is huge. Just the whole idea of punctuation and grammar in your, you know,
Yeah.
in the way that you come up with your lines is just it's an unspoken thing I think we all know, but we don't say it or teach it much. That's
Yeah, because you know,
huge.
like us guitar players are it's so easy for us to go like, you know, like do this like almost impossible line, like, oh, try to play that horn guy, and then it kind of loses the say 98% of the listening audience because it doesn't have punctuation. And like, why is Wayne Shorter the most brilliant magician of melody? It's because of the horn that he plays, and is also like his sense of time and what not to play. He's like, it's like what makes Wayne Shorter amazing is like what he doesn't play.
Yeah.
He'll be like, say like for example,
Do it.
say he's playing over just like a root.
Mm.
Space. And I'm thinking like almost like Miles Davis, peaceful, like in
Yeah.
a silent way, the way he would phrase over like these just open roots, and it's like how could you make 20 minutes of that interesting? It's like the way he punctuates and waits. So when I would not play is when almost like people were waiting for me to play.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a real algorithm with how to do that properly. It's like a language, inherent language.
No, it's definitely true. And like when you see really great people do really great speeches or at readings or whatever, the space and the anticipation is what makes the line pop. Like
Yeah, for
the
sure.
line doesn't pop without the anticipation. The pregnant pause or whatever. Like that
Yeah.
is the key.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think about along these lines is that when you play a horn or when you sing, there's a beautiful thing that happens when you don't have the ability to play more than one note at one time.
For sure.
There's a completely different mindset. Like in the guitar, like you just looking at the thing, it seems unlimited. You know what I mean?
It really is. Like when you can take, any combinative sort, like, when you would be a kid and go like this on the fretboard, that's actually true.
It is true.
This is actually true.
Yeah, it is true. And there's a beautiful purity that happens when you're a vocalist or a horn player or someone that can only play one note at a time, but you have that tied to the breath. We don't have the ability to push and pull dynamically while we're playing one note on the guitar the same way. So removing the chordal structure and thinking purely of the melody, but tied intrinsically with the breath and the dynamics.
Yeah. It's almost like digression. Like as we evolve as guitar players, it's actually more about digressing to find more of a pure sound.
Exactly right.
Not a guitar sound.
Yeah.
Right? It's like let's not be a guitar player. Let's actually try to be more like Aretha Franklin. Like it's like sounds more like a vocalist singing than a guitar player trying to phrase.
Yeah.
So it's like the more that you could rip yourself out of being a guitar player, but you're emulating other devices, then you have more of a fingerprint, I feel, like with the sound. Like say, for example, what if I tried to sound like a piccolo trumpet? Okay, say imagine Googling like say every instrument that's ever been created. And this is like one of my lesson things where I'll talk about character shifting. Okay, the more I think about being a guitar player, but I'm trying to sound like another instrument on my guitar, gives me like a Rolodex of like, say, having a synthesizer that could go through a bunch of presets.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can do this plug straight into a clean amp. Okay, so here's like a piccolo trumpet. I would play more of a Bach Brandenburg. Like, study like what a piccolo trumpet would play, and it's not about exactly doing it. It's like, what would that instrument play? Right? So it's like, if I study that particular instrument or timbre or timbre and add it to, say, a Rolodex of these ideas.
Yeah.
So what if I thought of a piano? Well, instantly on guitar, I'm thinking things that cascade over the top, like
Yeah.
like things that automatically, like if I were to play over the top of those notes, they're hanging over the top. Which is hard to do on the guitar, to get that Bill Frisell, where everything like automatically hangs over the neck.
Yeah.
Okay. Saxophone, thinking character shifting. What if I took the pentatonic scale and got away from the idea of playing it so linear, like, or in series? So if I played it like unseries as possible. That's just the D minor pentatonic. But I can sound instantly like Wayne Shorter if I play it like a sax player. Just that scale. I'm stacking fourths like crazy. That's how a sax player is going to look at D pentatonic minor. He's not going to look at it like everyone does in guitar land. They're going to go.
Yeah.
See intervals shifting. I'm almost seeing them open and close their hands, creating intervals.
Yeah.
These huge jumps, right? So the more intervallic that we can be as guitar players, the less we're going to sound like a guitar player. Fuck that. I go. So that instantly sounds more alien to the ear, but I'm just playing D minor, really, but it's all in how you play D minor,
Yeah.
less like a guitar player, right? At the end of the
Dude.
day.
All right. So I'm enjoying this so much. One thing we talked about when we actually took a lesson together that I would love for everybody to hear you expand on. One of the main things that really drew me not just to you but your band was how tight you in particular were with Chris the drummer. When I found out that you were basically a drummer first.
Yeah.
One of the things that I feel very adamantly about, because I play drums too, not terribly well, but I love them. I definitely am a rhythm first thinker.
Yeah.
Melody and harmony comes after that for me.
Second, always.
Yeah, and so I'd love to hear you, for those that don't know, how being a drummer has affected you or changed the way that you actually view playing guitar. Because I feel deeply that everyone should play drums no matter what instrument they play.
Yeah, that's what gets any girl or dude out of their seat to dance. It's not it's not the melody. It's the groove, And so I'm such a drum freak to where I'll like totally get into studying my favorite drummers and why I like my favorite drummers. Like down to like the way they ghost note on the snare. In between
absolutely.
like a 2 and a 4 hit, like a boom, 2, 4, all that stuff in between, like a Steve Gadd or a Vinnie Caliuta or a Jeff Porcaro, like those guys that are just studio giants that are on thousands, or Jim Keltner, like a Jim Keltner or a Jim Gordon, like all these guys have been heard a million times, but no one really knows their names, you know, and they're sort of the engine to what us melody guys play over. So the more that I could be, say if you had a session with any one of those guys, wouldn't you want to follow their lead? They're not following your lead, okay?
Yeah.
So the more that you could be in tune with the way he's pulling back. So there's not a single note that's going to be ahead of the mark.
Yeah.
So if you were to do a session with a Steve Gadd or someone like that, if you're playing in front and he's so everything's slightly pulled behind the actual center of time. So you got to be like. So it's not a swing. It's more of a
Yeah.
right? So it's more than a triplet and less than a dotted 16th. There's something in between, and it's also not on every one. It's like right? Would be an exaggerated feel of that, which is what hip hop is, right? Like yeah, it's like there's the snare beat comes before the kick. It's almost like the 2 and the 4s rushed and the kicks are pulled behind. So stuff like that, if you can feel as a guitar player, you're going to get more gigs. It almost sounds like I'm messing up, but it's like so in that swampy groove thing.
Yeah.
That you got to know when to do it and when not to. Or are we actually going? Where it's classically right in the center. You know, so it's like, so rhythm is king because you got to be able to groove with the drummer and go with his sort of like algorithms, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I've always felt that any band that I was in, we were only ever as good as the drummer, and the other musicians that allowed that to be the case. And so the common goal was always, okay, foundation first, and then we build upon. But like this is everything at the bottom. This is everything. Because like you said, if they're not getting out of their seats and dancing, you're not doing it.
Yeah, it's like why those AC/DC records are so simple, but then just kick so much ass.
Yes.
It's just like, it's weird how quartz timingly perfect some of that stuff is, and it's so human at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like so on and so human at the same time. There's a cool chemistry of a good lesson, folks, of like, why is AC/DC like the most revered rock sound of all time? Because it's simple and it's all rhythm based.
Yes.
You know, and think about the so the guitars will hit on the drums and the bass are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like such like that. It creates that boat rocker, you know.
And anybody out there that's watching knows this to be true. When you're seeing local bands, especially cover bands, it's those types of songs that really show you who the good bands are. It's the simple ones like that are really, really hard to get because everybody has to viscerally understand the rhythm. You know what I mean? And it's
like say the top of it's like that's probably one of the hardest things to play, actually like the record, because people know it so well. So you have to almost play everything so exactly like that performance. You can't do your own version of it, you know.
And one of the things that when I played in cover bands, it was always so intimidating was not once you got going, is that when you start those iconic songs, you know, and your timing has got to be dead the fuck on, you know.
Yeah. There's
and,
no
and,
like
and,
click track beforehand, or something, right?
and you're right. The iconic things where people who aren't musicians don't even know how well they know it, and
Yeah.
if you don't meet the expectation, uh, I mean, people are going to be like, oh, they're not a good
Totally.
band, and Angus Young's swagger,
Oh man,
that shuffle swagger through the lead parts, it
so
is
ridiculous.
it's so ridiculous. I
mean,
want to say he doesn't get enough credit, but I actually think he does. But people don't get, because it's so easy to just say, oh, he's just mixing major and minor
yeah, it's
pentatonic and
Chuck Berry on speed or something. No, man, it's way more than that. It's like there's a certain like electricity to his like. There's like a certain fire that you.
yeah,
So it's like more from the gut and from like the shoulder than
Yeah.
say just from your
Yeah,
like hands and wrists. It's like he's like really putting it into that.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like that.
And you know what? And what other band? Actually, this is a really interesting thought I just had. What other band besides AC/DC at that level of, we tour in stadiums, open air stadiums
Totally.
globally? What band at that level is the guitar player who doesn't sing the absolute focus of
That's
everybody?
true. That's very true.
Think about it. The whole show is with the devil horns on the top of
Yeah.
the stage. The whole show is about him becoming that crazy person, and we all know beforehand, he doesn't drink. He's just sitting in his hotel room, smoking cigarettes, drinking tea, saving his energy, and the entire show culminating in him in the solo, like taking his clothes off, kicking on stage, is him becoming that wild ass animal.
It's weird how he does an actual. It's like more than Broadway. He does like a real transformation. It's not just makeup and lights, but like he literally transforms from that. Everyone knows that Angus. He's
Yeah.
so calm, and then
Yeah.
he just turns into like this thing that it's like, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
I was just like freaked out as a kid by. Also, he was like 15 years old when they recorded High Voltage. Like their
Yeah.
first album, he was like 15 years old. at
Yeah.
that is like crazy young. That's like a Steve Winwood kind of young when he, did the Spencer, like give me some love, and he was like 14 years old at that time. It's crazy stuff.
Dude, I know, and I see a lot of people jumping in the chat saying like Aerosmith, and again, but Steven Tyler was you can't say Joe Perry was bigger than Steven Tyler, or people are saying Van Halen. Like you can't say that David Lee Roth.
That's true. It was
You
like
know?
a little more neck and neck because of the audacity of the front man.
Yeah.
But like Brian,
Or like think
Brian-
like Guns N' Roses. Like you can't
know?
say Axl Rose.
Yeah.
Like you
It
can't.
was like a dichotomy. There was a dichotomy with the two.
Yeah. Or like
Say Brian Johnson was like 5'2", would
Yeah.
wear a hat and kind of just go like this, and kind of stay out of the way. So
Yeah.
really, AC/DC was, Bon Scott. That like he was the guy. Like
Yeah.
talk about the fuse of Angus and Bon. Like that
Yeah.
was like I love Brian Johnson, but it was really Bon Scott.
Yeah. I totally agree. I want to see AC/DC again.
I know. That's one of my favorite. I remember seeing AC/DC in '91, and I was like deaf for 3 days after. It was at
Yeah.
like a small coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they had their whole PA system for a small hockey rink, and it like people were ill, like physically ill next to me because
Yeah.
it was so loud.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like guys were like getting taken away in the back of the room. It was too loud. It was literally too loud.
Yeah. Well, so this another conversation. So the simplicity of, those arrangements and how much space there is, also lends itself actually to open air stadium sound.
That's
You
right.
can't get busy shit to the back.
Right.
You know, you can't, you have to literally throw cannons of sound to
Yes.
get
Like
to the,
Mahavishnu, like
yeah.
Mahavishnu Orchestra used to play arenas in the early '70s. Like I could only imagine how the PA systems, like that would just be like, okay, let's go. I'll meet you at the bar down the
Yeah.
street. You know, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but like to 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 play like you can play. This is a fascinating conversation. The actual venue dictates a great deal what will work there. Small,
Yeah.
intimate jazz clubs and stadiums and everything in between
Totally.
require literally different music.
A certain kind. And you know what's weird is when we moved up to bigger rooms, I
Yeah.
was purposely writing music for more theaters and bigger rooms, like say, well, even like a riff like Seasons, like it's more like Van Halen, boots, butts, boots,
Yeah.
butts, boots, but. You know, it's like that stuff sounds good in a big room. If you're playing like, you know, like it's like no one's gonna make out a quarter of that. You know?
Yeah. What did Eric? So David Byrne talks about that exact concept in his book How Music Works. I didn't know David Byrne has a book called How Music Works, but I believe that he would talk about this.
Total. Yeah,
Yeah.
he put. I mean, think about Talking Heads and the space and the time that they would put. It was all about the less is more concept.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, their rhythm section is exactly the ideal pop rhythm section. Boom, pot, boom, boom, pot, boom, pot, boom,
Stripped
boom,
out. I mean, he's
boom.
not even really on the hi hat all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like create a pattern that's less of a pattern of straight eighth notes. You know.
Yeah, that it was such a bitchin' band, and man, having Bernie Worrell on the keys just brought it way over the top.
Yeah. That was like the fringes around like the pulse of that band that was so simple. And then say you added those cool elements around it, like Adrian Belew
Yeah.
and Bernie, like over the top, sort of adding their little ingredients that made it hit. You know.
Yeah, that man, I love that band. I love that band. And Bernie is one of my all time favorite soloists of any instrument.
Yeah, for sure.
I obviously a monstrous, P-Funk fan. And Bernie always was one of those guys that there are very few players that I put in that category where like the intent is so palpable,
Yeah.
where it's just like he'd be back there behind the keys and he'd wait. He'd hit one note and he would just like he would dive with it.
Yeah.
You-
It
you
almost
know-
like it had like a Miles Davis quality. You know when Miles would wait forever and then he would just be like
yeah.
and like walk away. You know?
And same thing.
Yeah.
And Miles had a different attitude when it could be the same B flat, right? But if he was playing B flat pointing to the ground,
Yeah.
or pointing to the side, because Miles would have his back to the audience and play to the ground
Round, yes.
all the fucking time.
It was like it was more about it's like I love trying to figure Miles out because no one really will.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like no matter how many books are written or documentaries are done, because everyone has their own perception of Miles Davis because
Yeah.
he means so much. He's kind of like Elvis for people, At least in our realm, it's like he's kind of Davis is the Elvis,
Yeah.
We're always
And-
trying to figure him out, No one can figure that cat out.
No, but I will say that like Bernie, there are very few people I'd put in this category where like they physically emulate every note choice, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, and you can tell that they think about it, and that they embody
Yeah.
that B flat, and a B flat
Totally.
can be 1,000 different B flats, you
Big time.
know?
Big time.
And you just literally see them behind the keyboard, like
Yeah.
and like you can see in the body language, you're like, yeah, that one, that would make you stand up, you
Just
know?
waiting for it. Wait, unless it's like, bam,
Yeah.
like boom. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
almost like like, getting hit with the bop gun. In the hit me with the bop gun. It's like that.
Yes.
Boom. One note. It's
Yes.
all. Or like when a guitar player goes, like the Mike Bloomfield stuff. Kind of stuff like a girl screaming. Like that
Yes.
stuff. And it's more human. It's like it's got a humanized quality, almost coming full circle on what we're talking about. Adding more of that humanized patience and punctuation to your lines.
Yeah. That's it. Wow. This conversation is going on quite a few tangents. I love it. Let me bring it back to your playlist. Let's play something else here.
Yeah, let's look through there. Let's see what we got. I mean,
All right, so let's
so much
let's
stuff.
let's start at the top.
I mean,
Worst
what-
music
like
video.
The worst music, come like the second one is Jan Terry, and that's a Chicago native. So that's like an old school Chicago. That's probably the worst song ever written, on top of like the worst video ever made. So
I think we got to watch a second of it.
it's amazing. Just maybe fast forward a bit. It's great.
I love.
The chorus.
I ask you to bring you songs, and you say, "Okay, we're gonna do this one. This is probably the worst song ever written with the
But
worst."
wait, but the funny thing is, like the chorus, you'll be falling asleep tonight, and this chorus will be pummeling through your head, and you will not be able to get this chorus out of your head.
All right,
There's a secret to this.
all right,
I'll be right back.
okay. But by the way, everyone, how awesome is this?
So it's like out of tune. Let's check this guy out. This guy. It says no parking. In circles. Even the lyrical choice. Really question. Hey,
Oh, look at that mullet.
look at those boots. They're out of here. Tonight, you're the only thing that matters.
You're right. This will be stuck in my head.
What's the sewage drain? You see that sewage drain right there? Look at that. So this is art that's supposed to be very serious, and it's like more than art. I love it. I love it.
Look at the belt buckle.
Dude, it's priceless. So Jan Terry is like a super underground cult star because she's got 5 million views on this one, right?
I saw that.
So like Marilyn Manson would have parties way back in the 90s and have Jan Terry show up at his parties and do like a karaoke set.
Oh
Stuff
my
like
God.
that. So she's like in the mix, yo. No joke.
All right, let's go back to the list now. All right, so Wow, I don't
Yeah.
know a lot of these.
Go
Obviously-
down a bit. Go down a bit.
You tell me, man.
Man, I love Stranded and like Alex Chilton from Big Star. So if you go back up a little bit, there's this famous photographer named Bill Eggleston.
Okay.
Like the first real color photographer that mattered, and he first got a hold of the first like camcorder, Sony camcorder, and he lived in Memphis, and he was best friends with Alex Chilton. and they were in the weird drug art scene back then. And it's called Stranded in Canton, right there. And I would highly recommend that just to comb through. It's like an hour and 17 minutes, but it's like basically the subculture of Memphis through the lens of a camcorder. It's like the first vlog ever.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. Super artsy. Let's do King Crimson, Mexico City, Indiscipline. Go up just a little bit.
The only reason I'm not going to do that is I know for a fact King Crimson blocks.
They do. They totally do. All right,
Yeah.
let's go down a little bit. Dude, Atomic Rooster, Sleeping for Years. That's like some of the most obscure, underground, awesome stuff the UK has ever put out.
You want to do that?
Let's try that.
Okay, I have no idea what this is.
Super aggressive. Like, look at that guitar.
All right, let's do it. We'll go do a couple minutes of this. Guys, I hope you're having a great time. I'm having a fantastic time. Don't forget, if you're watching, please click the link in the description and go give Jake and Humphreys a sub. And Mods, I see you out there sharing a lot of links and helping people. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Hey, Sarah.
Open your eyes. Days go by.
That keyboard player.
He's just like,
And I never
Yeah.
know just why. Been around town too long. Now I know when to go. Coming home. Get away.
kind of progressive, too. It's got that progressive
Yeah.
quality.
Coming home.
Is this guy in Lenny Kravitz? I think about Lenny Kravitz.
Right?
You know,
Um,
but I mean, really, like that. This whole list is like just filled with all these kind of just tidbits that I was like, I would find, and I'd be like, I got to put this all in one little spot in my library, so because I'm not going to come across this video again if I don't put it in my YouTube library, basically. So
dude, so I just shared. I've done it a couple times. I just shared the link to Jake's playlist, and when we're not live, I will put it in the description too.
nice, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, there's 150 videos on here.
I know.
I love it. Let's do one more. Let's see
Yeah,
what we
for
can
sure.
find here. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, brother. All right.
Let's see what here. I mean, the half step out of the half step out of keys. So there's all your favorite like pop tunes, like "Take on Me" with the vocals half step out of tune.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Dude, it's the funniest thing you'd ever hear. Go right to the verse.
Do the aha take on me?
Yeah, it's like addiction, right? Like there's a bunch. So
Okay.
kind of fast forward through the little keyboard intro,
Uh-huh.
right, and then get to like the verse.
Okay.
The half- half step.
Dude.
It's E flat instead of E right there.
Oh, Move My Monkey. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that donation. Yeah, he'll see you in Detroit. Oh, dude,
yeah.
that is bananas. I didn't even know that was a thing on YouTube.
It's like kind of like a quest because, like, think about it. I've spent my whole life researching the best music
Yeah.
of all time. I've spent, like, 46 years doing that. And it's like now I'm on a quest for finding the beautiful things in the stuff that's wrong. So it's kind of like now I'm at a quest for finding that other light
Yeah.
on the yin and the yang spectrum. It's like spinning your yin and yang upside down a little bit.
Dude says that almost physically hurt.
Truly. Really.
Oh my God. Anybody out there have any questions for Jake and I while we're here? Jake, I'm not going to make you go too much longer. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. And while we do that, dude, you have so much random shit on here. Abandoned Burger King in Niles, Michigan.
Yeah, so also because I'm from a small town in Michigan, I'll just research weird stuff like that Burger King I used to go to when I was 4 years old, and I would randomly find it on YouTube. I'm like, dude, I gotta save this. And then this guy that wrote a song about Niles, Michigan, he's like, Niles, Michigan, really
Dude.
nice place to live.
I love
Save
that you
that.
have
That's weird.
Dave Lombardo War Ensemble. That
Like his camera view from behind his drums. The whole
I've actually done a video on this exact one.
so good. I'm such a Dave Lombardo freak. He's like the
Dude,
machine of metal.
I got to see Slayer. I've seen Slayer like 5 times probably, but
Yeah.
I saw them, I think for the first time at this small room, the Wrecker Theater in Towson here. And it was back in the day when everybody was smoking inside, and there was one tiny bathroom, but man, to bring it back to that conversation about different size rooms kind of dictate different types of music.
Yeah.
That was the perfect size room for Slayer to just it felt like they just took a razor blade and just cut everyone's heads off.
Right.
Literally.
You could like feel the 16th notes. You could feel like the ticka 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 ticka, right? Like in a room like that.
Oh my God. It was unbelievable. When I was in GIT, there was a metal teacher named Steiger, and he used to call it oh God, what did he call it? Like the perfect atonal madness. Like it. I remember Dimebag, used to talk about Kerry King and Jeff, and he'd be like, "We all have this book," and they looked at it and they said, "Fuck that book! Like I'm gonna write my own book." You know what I mean? And there's such an incredible, because like if you looked at it on paper, and even like if you it doesn't make sense, but like it's so wrong, it's right.
Yeah,
and
it's all about
there's a thing to that.
Locrian. Like Slayer is all about the Locrian, anything. Almost like diminished Locrian with the flat 2, The flat 5, it's like all the devil's notes.
Well, and they would tag riffs with the flat 2. You know what I mean? Like
It's kind of like King Crimson, where the first starter's up. Stuff like that, and almost at a halftime, and then you put thrash down.
Yeah.
It's like it's just King Crimson, kind of like at double time.
Dude, yeah, and the way they would harmonize, like we're all like, okay, let's harmonize in thirds, like you're supposed to do,
like, it's like church.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Let's take some questions. Gobs14 says, who was the player joined you on stage that was like a holy crap moment for you?
Oh man, I mean, over the last 20 years, we've gotten to play with so many great players. You know, to be quite honest, it's when Widespread Panic and Humphreys played down in Charleston. We played at this big outdoor like tennis complex, and we played Maggot Brain. Actually, they asked me to come up, so I'm playing with Widespread. We played Maggot Brain into Red Hot Mama,
Yeah.
and it was
I've watched that video.
yeah, I was up there for like a half an hour, and that was a really special moment because I really appreciate Jimmy, not only as a player but as a person, and like he's just like such an underrated beast. Like, and he deserves everything he has.
He
So
is
that
a
was
full-grown beast. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he is unbelievable.
He plays just effortlessly like Coltrane if he wants to. He just has that. He can see chords it's like a Coltrane. He just sees all those arpeggios and those
Yeah.
stuff. So instead of playing scales, he plays arpeggios. You know,
Yeah.
that's the beauty. You know, it's that horn thing. And it's like that. I appreciate that in his playing.
Yeah, man. I got to see him play with John McLaughlin when PRS had their 30th anniversary
Yeah.
thing at Rams Head here in Baltimore, and man, he really stole the show. He was absolutely incredible and preposterously loud too.
Right, yeah, he's like so loud because he's used to playing, like he's used to getting that sound in like
Yeah.
Widespread Panic's environment. So like
Yeah.
almost it's a touch thing. So imagine
Yeah.
like being a player like Jimmy, and like the guitar reacts with the speakers being like that loud, or else
Yeah.
it doesn't play a certain way. So it's almost becomes like a double helix with like getting that certain Jimmy Herring tone requires like, you know, you being Leslie West on stage, you know, with the
Yeah.
volume. Yeah.
Totally. Noah Tucker, thank you so much for the donation. He wants to know about your musical relationship with Bayless. What's that
Yeah.
like?
I mean, Bayless and I, we live kind of like parallel lives. We have 3 children that are all about the same age. We play guitar. We sing in the band, the same band. We're roughly the same age. We like all the same music. And it's like we're kind of like the Lennon and McCartney in our world. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we kind of cross each other's I's and dot each other's T's, you know, kind of per se. So, but what my job necessarily is I write a lot of the music.
Yeah.
So I'll have like logs and logs of songs, you know, that are just laying around because I have this beautiful studio here. I can do everything kind of from ground up as far as an arrangement or an idea and have it like basically ready to send to them.
Yeah.
So I'll come up with a bunch of ideas, send it to him, Dropbox, and then he might sit on an idea for 6 months. Then all of a sudden we've got this beautiful vocal arrangement over a song that I created a year and a half ago. And then that'll be ready for the next record. So it's funny, a lot of the stuff that I make up here won't even be heard for another 3 years. It's kind of weird how that process works. But it's gotten to that point to where I'm kind of like a little bit more the music guy, and he's like takes it home for a while and creates like the beautiful music vocal passage that goes over the music. And then we get together as a band and then arrange this demo-like idea that I had. And let's make the rhythm section a little bit more syncopated here. Let's maybe like stretch out that chord a little longer before we go back to the verse, so we get inside the networkings of the song as a group. But as far as that relationship with Bayless and I, yeah, it's like I'll send him 10 things and 3 things will stick. So it's like, and I never get like butthurt about something that doesn't work. It's just like that didn't work for him, you know, to turn it Humphrey's song, you know. So it's like if I just keep on giving him stuff, then we constantly always have new stuff to kind of like work on for the future, and we're always looking 5 years down the road, you know. So it's about having more than enough material to chew on when you dry up per se, you know.
I hear you. Austin Clark, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Nice, Austin.
And Dan, thank you for that. This is a good question. He says, aside from drums, what other instruments you think musicians should have a basic knowledge of?
Yeah, I mean,
keys.
getting like a horned instrument, like because I play saxophone, so
Yeah.
just realizing how to get a good sound is so hard. Like a violin is like the hardest instrument to make sound good, naturally and acoustically without using any processing. You know, if you're going for like an inspiring keyboard, pick up a Fender Rhodes. Plug it through an amplifier. You want to be say a non-keyboard player and be enticed by keyboard land, pick up a Fender Rhodes. You'll instantly just be like, it's just so pleasant to play and hear at the same time. It almost teaches you, you know, little stuff like that. Ukulele, pick up a ukulele and detune it to make a different song out of it. You know, take your favorite acoustic guitar, put super heavy strings on it, and do crazy low C open Jimmy Page tunings and write a song. So it's all about taking what we conventionally know is right and twisting it around to make something fresh. You know, nowadays it's 2021. It's like we got to do something different, right?
That's it. All right. Well, I'm going to end it on this one because this is a good one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And Jake, this has been so cool, man. I really
Michael,
appreciate this.
You got an awesome thing going here, man. Keep it going. Us guitar players, the musical community, need people like you out there. Trust me.
I really appreciate that.
You're a man.
So, Keith wants to know, the next song that I do of yours, which one do you think it should be?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. You know,
Obviously, Keith wants to hurt me, so he wants you
Right.
to, you know.
I would say if I'm thinking of a song that would most represent Humphreys, you did Plunger and Wizard, right? Were those
And
the
we
two?
what? No, and we did.
Wappy.
Yeah, and we did the Wizard Burial Ground.
Yeah.
And we did. What was the very first one? It was.
Was it Wappy Sprayberry?
No. Someone's gonna say it in the comments here in a second. God damn it! What was the first one?
Let me think. I would say
Puppet String.
Puppet String. Yeah, which is a good live performance, which is
Yeah.
and band like song. So I would say the most representative song of Humphreys is a song called Plunger. I think Plunger has the most Humphreys-like ingredients inside of that particular arrangement. And what's cool is there's so much of that cool syncopation, like the riff is like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a tom. It's like a good example of
A Tom Phil.
the tom. So I'm kind of thinking in terms of a chromatic, almost like a Neil Peart fill that goes into like a bam bam, you know. So like right riffs is a tom fill, like digga 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 digga. You know, so it's like it's all in kind of the eye of the beholder when you're writing a riff. Think like a drummer, then write the riff. You know.
Sold. That's what's going to happen next. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And Jake, thank you. And again, when you guys eventually come through this area, I will absolutely be there.
Oh,
And
we're gonna have you on stage, brother. We're just gonna pull up that extra amp and we're gonna shred for a bit. All right,
dude, I'm going to start practicing. I've been practicing.
You got this.
Dude, it would warm the deepest cockles of my heart. I am
I'm telling
looking
you,
forward to that day.
Like check out our repertoire and find
Yeah.
a song that you would really like to play, and it'll be just like, okay, Mike wants to play this song, boom, 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 let's go. So you pick out the song you would most likely want to play out of our catalog.
Now when you have people sit in with you, well, okay, so do you typically say pick something from your catalog, or do you have like covers that you typically do with people because
Well, we have
everybody
a
knows
bunch
them?
of covers. We have a bunch of covers or a bunch of originals. So it's kind of like up to you. You know, you
I
could like
will.
find anything that you feel most comfortable with, that you like. You're more than welcome. So wide open.
I am looking forward to it. Actually, anybody that's watching, if they have a suggestion, shoot it to me. Drop a link in the comments here, and I'll go through them. All right, Jake, you hang tight real quick. Everybody, again, thank you so much. And remember, the links to Jake and Umphreys are in the description. The link to the playlist I will put in the description after this, but it is in the chats. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. And special thanks to the mods and everybody out there that supports me in this channel and takes lessons from me and is a subscriber over at GuitarGate. It means the world to me. You make all this possible. And thank you guys for tuning in. I love you all very much.
Definitely.
All right.
Cheers,
Hang
guys.
tight.
Peace.